Hello there! Today's session is all about kindness. Being kind is one of the best things that you can be. It can be as simple as giving someone a hug, sharing a smile or a joke, sharing a chocolate or a toy, maybe holding the door open for someone or saying please or thank you. Being kind makes people feel warm and toasty. It shows them that you care about them and it makes them feel loved. So maybe today you could choose a special person and do a random act of kindness. Show them that you care about them and show them they are loved. This song is called Our God is a Great Big God. If you know the words, make sure you sing along. Okay, we're going to play a game now. Let's see if you can guess some riddles. Are you ready? Number 1. What has hands and a face but cannot smile? I'll give you 10 seconds. Go! Did you guess it? It's a clock! Ready for number 2? What belongs to you but is used by other people more? 10 seconds, off you go. I'm sure you must have guessed that one. It's your name! Are you ready for number 3? Here we go. I have a head and a tail. What am I? 10 seconds starts now. Did you guess correctly? It was a coin. Why don't you try those out on your friends and family? I'd like to tell you the story of my grandma's birthday. Now she's a very special lady, so I wanted to get her something really, really special. So I went down to the shops, and in the window of this particular shop I saw some of the most beautiful scarves, and I knew that she really likes things like that, so I thought I'd get her some. So I went in, and when I walked in, there was all different coloured ones, and there was a special deal that day. So if I bought 4, I got them specially gift wrapped, and it just so happened that there was 4 in her favourite colours. There was yellow, there was a green one, there was a lovely red one, and a beautiful blue one. Now I knew that she'd really like them, so I thought I'd get them, and I asked about the gift wrapping and they said that that was fine. So the lady took the special tube and she started to place the scarves into the special tube for me to gift wrap them. So in went the yellow one first, then the lovely emerald green one, and she just popped them in like this. Then was the red one, and last but not least, the lovely blue one. Now once they were all there, nice and safe in the tube, she also said to me that if I wanted to, she could wrap them up for me as well in some nice gift paper. So I said that'd be great. And she just so happened to have some lovely pink paper, which is my nan's favourite colour. So I said, oh yeah, let's do that. So she grabbed the wrapping paper and she started to wrap them up for me. There we go. And once they were all wrapped up, I went round to my grand's house. I knocked on the door, and when she opened it, I said, I've bought you the most lovely present for your birthday. And she started to open it, and she said, oh my goodness, I've wanted for ages a rainbow shawl. Now this is where I started to panic, because I hadn't bought her a rainbow shawl. I bought her 4 scarves in different colours. But then I remembered that I'm a magician, so maybe I could save this present. So I did a little bit of magic, and my granny had a rainbow. Okay, so there were 2 sausages in a frying pan. One said, it's hot in here. The other one said, it's a talking sausage. Why don't you ever give Elsa a balloon? Because she'll only let it go. What do you call a line of Barbie dolls? A barbecue. Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they use honeycombs. I'm going to read a story now. This book is by Julia Donaldson. It's one of my favourites. It's called The Smartest Giant in Town. Here he is. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes, so he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some stripy I'm going to read you a story now. This is a book by Julia Donaldson, and it's one of my favourite stories. It's called The Smartest Giant in Town. And here he is. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes, so he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the sides, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giraffe who was sniffing sadly. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my neck, said the giraffe. It's so very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long warm scarf. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his stripy tie. It didn't match my socks anyway, he said, as he wound it round and round the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. Oh, thank you, said the giraffe. And George strode towards home, and he sang to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sail," said the goat. "It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his new white shirt. It kept coming untucked anyway, he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. "Thank you," said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a tiny ruined house. Behind the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's our house," squeaked the mother mouse. "It burnt down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house." "Oh, cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyway," he said, as the mouse and her baby scrambled inside. The shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you," they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind. He sang to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. "What's the matter?" said George. "It's my sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the sides. "It was tickling my toes anyway," he said, as the fox snuggled into it. It made a very fine sleeping bag. "Oh, thank you," said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. "What's the matter?" asked George. "Oh, it's this bog," said the dog. "I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. Oh, I wish there was a safe, dry path." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his smart new belt. "It was squashing my tummy anyway," he said, as he laid it down over the bog. It made an excellent path. "Oh, thank you," said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, my belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog, but my trousers are falling down. Oh, I'm the coldest giant in town." Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery, and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, "I'll have to go back to the shop and buy more clothes." This is what he decided, so he turned round and hopped all the way back to the shop in his pants. Oh dear. But when he got there, it was closed. "Oh no," cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. "My gown!" he yelled. "My dear old gown and sandals!" George put them on. They felt wonderfully comfortable. "Oh, I'm the cosiest giant in town," he cried, and he danced back home along the road. Outside his front door stood all the animals that he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. "Come on, George," they said. "Open it!" George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. "Look inside the card, George," said all the animals. George put the crown on his head and he opened the card. Inside it said, "Your tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and the gown of the kindest giant in town." Well, that's it for today. I hope you've had fun. See you next time, and thanks for watching.